Which NHL teams are the favorites to win the Stanley Cup? Who are the dark horses to win the Stanley Cup? And who is going to come in first in the race for Gavin McKenna and the number one pick? It's Stanley Cup Tiers Day on today's Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen of the day. Every single day, we are your free daily Tampa Bay Lightning podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we want to begin by shouting out our everydayers, those of you who tune into every single show, every single day. We love you. We appreciate the support you give us week in and week out. I'm Nick Morgan, and I am joined by the June Carter to my Johnny Cash, Greg Stephen. Greg, welcome in, my friend. Hockey is back.
Good morning. We have 1 day left until Lightning opener.
1 day left into the Lightning opener. We already saw some good action last night. Three games in action, including that team which must not be named. Cool hockey across the board. Some good games already. And, of course, Lightning, they begin their season tomorrow against Ottawa Senators. So much to look forward to. Before we get into it, I want to mention today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. All right, it is Stanley Cup Contenders Tiers Day.
Yes.
So you guys have probably seen the app Tier Maker all across social media, across Reddit. There's been plenty of videos around with things like, let's put the, Madden video games in tiers, Taylor Swift albums in tiers. We're going to do that for Cup Contenders today. So we're going to have tiers for contendership. We're going to have bona fide Stanley Cup favorites. We're going to have dark horses, which are teams maybe not a lot of people are talking about that could win the Stanley Cup. We're going to have the playoff line, teams that are either, going to make the playoffs or just missed it. We're going to have teams that are mid. And then we're going to have teams that are hella mid.
Hella mid.
So those are our tiers. Greg, any questions?
No questions.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to set this up. I'm ready to show the world who's going to win this.
Okay, so we're going to actually start from the bottom up. So, Greg, how about you start with your hella mid teams? These are the bottom tier teams that you think have a closer shot to win the
McKenna race?
Number one, the McKenna race.
Yeah.
Instead of the Stanley Cup. I was trying to do a fun pun there, but couldn't think of one.
Whoops. Okay, well, look. Is it any secret that the Chicago Blackhawks are hella mid? Nah, they're hella mid. I don't even need to give you a reason. I don't even think Bedard looks as good as everyone thought he was going to look, and I don't think he will take a large step forward this season, and that's why they are hella mid. Now, moving on. Boston Bruins. Come on. They just dealt everyone away. They added a bunch of, average guys. I'm sure they're going to be okay-ish during the regular season. They ain't making the playoffs. They ain't going anywhere. I promise you. They're hella mid. Then we got the Ducks. They are the Ducks. They are hella mid. They have a little bit of a bright spot with McTavish potentially. I don't even think they re-signed him yet, but God, they got Lacombe over there too. Couple of names coming up, but right now they are hella mid. And then Seattle, wow, I can't think of a more bland, boring. No one on this team is exciting. I don't want to watch any of your games team in the league. That's them right there. I do not care at all about the Seattle Kraken. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I feel like the Seattle Kraken in general, I feel like the way that the Vegas was built, I feel like Seattle was hoping for that same success, but NHL GMs wised up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Seattle was kind of banking on getting random generational talent in exchange for, also getting a first round pick, and it just didn't quite work out. But
yeah,
Yeah, it's okay. We're gonna kind of go through some things as we compare lists. So I'm gonna put mine up on the board here. I only have 3 teams in the hella mid, like that. I'm like guaranteed are gonna be like bottom of the bunch. One of them's Seattle, because I agree with you.
Yeah.
There's nothing there this year, and I think maybe being a bottom feeder team will actually help them a little bit.
Probably.
Um, because I think you're gonna, if you win the McKenna race, you finally have a bona fide star to
Right.
build on. I'm not saying, Matty Beniers is a great player.
He is.
I think you need a lot more to build a competent team.
Definitely.
I agree with you, Chicago. I'm not going to say Connor Bedard's a bust or not going to take a big step forward this year. But I do think there's really nothing on that team that makes me go, yeah, they're going to be any better this year. And then I have the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I would like to say that I did this before they won their game last night. So my prediction is not off to a great start, but it's you hear all the rumors about Sidney Crosby potentially taking, maybe being traded this year, going to a contender for one last run of the cup. They didn't really do a whole lot this offseason. It's Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and then a bunch of random role players. I think this is the year the wheels fall off.
Wow.
For the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it's going to be really intriguing at the end of the year to see if a Crosby trade for one last run does happen, like a lot of the rumors say it might.
I think it's a sin to put Crosby in the hella mid category of any type, but
it's fun. And then I'm not saying Crosby's hella mid. Crosby's still a great player. I think Malkin's maybe taking a step back, but he's still a good player. But I don't know. I just see it. Okay, so we're gonna snake these a little bit. So I'm gonna go to my next tier, which is just mid. They're not the worst in the NHL, but they're not really going to make anything happen either. Okay. Yeah. So I have the Calgary Flames. The only thing keeping them from hell mid for me is Dustin Wolf.
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to wind up being one of the best goalies in the NHL. They have some intriguing people. I'm really excited to see like Zane Parekh there. It's just one of those things where I don't see really anything else on that roster that makes me go, oh yeah, they're going to compete this year. Maybe sneak into the playoffs. Plus, I think a lot of teams in their neck of the woods in the Western Conference have also taken a step forward. New York Islanders, I think Matthew Schaefer is going to be a great player, but I think they're sort of in the throngs of starting to rebuild a little bit. I have the Boston Bruins here. I kind of, you said it was a sin to put Crosby in hella mid. I think it's a sin to put a team with David Pastrnak who could score 100 points in hella mid. I don't think Boston's going to be good, but I do think that they're not going to, compete for the number 1 pick either. San Jose Sharks. I think escape from hella mid. The only reason I put them here is that I think year 2 of Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith, William Eklund, and Michael Misa, I think the team's going to start to hit their stride later in the season. I think you're going to start seeing signs of the Sharks being good. I have the Buffalo Sabres. I feel like that's self-explanatory. And then the Nashville Predators. Sorry, Steven Stamkos. With injury concerns for Yossi, with Saros not really being as dominant as he has been, I don't see how that team is good.
Okay. Yeah. Mostly agree with everything. Mostly.
Yeah. So I'm going to put your next tier up, and then I want you to tell me kind of as you explain it, where you disagree and where you agree. All right. So for those watching on YouTube, this is now Greg's mid tier.
So we have similar ones, right? Like, I think that's a good sign, probably. Major differences. I put I don't have Nashville here. I think they'll be substantially better than last season. I don't think they'll be amazing, but I do think they will improve. I do have like you didn't have the Flyers here, right?
I did not have the Flyers here.
Okay. Yeah. So Flyers are a weird one for me with goaltending and just depth, just not good. But Michkov, oh, so good. So that's why they're not hella mid for me. But other than Michkov, like, they're staying at mid. And then the Jackets are kind of in that same boat. I've read a bunch of articles about how everyone thinks the Jackets are actually going to be really good this season. And they actually have some great players coming up. Like Marchenko is a beast, right?
Right.
I think they are where the Sharks were last season. And I think that that's kind of where they will be at the end of the year. The Sharks, I actually almost had them in the playoffs with the question mark category. I think the Sharks are going to surprise everyone this year. And they got such a crazy young talent core. And then they add some bullies like Reeves and, goons to back them up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they got Askarov coming up in net. I have such crazy high hopes for the Sharks. I think they're going to be really good. I don't think they're going to be, a cup winner this year, but I think they're better than hella mid. And what else was our differences? I think that's it. I think those were our only differences.
No, you had Nashville much higher. What else? Oh, I had the Blue Jackets and the Flyers much higher.
Right.
Okay, so we're kind of on the same path so far with Sir Give or Take, and I'm with you 100% on the Sharks. I think that's going to be a really fun team to watch. And I think towards the end of the year, again, is where you're going to see them really hit their stride. And I think they're going to be on the playoff line next year. But the question is, Greg, who's on the playoff line this year? So we're going to get to the teams that are on the playoff line, teams that we think, whether they're safely in, but maybe not a contender, or teams that you think could fight for the last couple of spots. We're going to get to that when we come back. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Whether you manage a Fortune 500 company or you're just running your little mom and pop shop, eventually you're going to need to hire some help. So how can you find amazing candidates fast? It's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs puts your posts at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. Anybody who works in hiring has known the feeling where you need to find a right fit, like yesterday. The pressure's on and every day without the right person is a setback. Well, that's exactly when Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy because they make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. And now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support a show by saying you heard about it on the Locked On Lightning. Terms and conditions apply. If you're hiring, Indeed is all you need. Welcome back to Locked On Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Stephen. We are doing Stanley Cup contendership tiers, ranking all 32 NHL teams to see where they land on the contendership. All right, so we've talked about our mid teams. Now we're going to get into teams that are right on the playoff line. All right, so we kind of have two categories for this. Greg, I'm going to put your tier list on the board here. We have playoffs, which are teams we think are, probably safely on the playoff line, but not necessarily contenders. And then we have playoffs, which are teams that we think might be a little bit more towards fighting for that last spot. Okay, so explain your playoffs and then your playoffs.
Are we going top to bottom?
Go in any order you want. We've been going bottom to top, so if you want to do that, or you can start about your how about just start with the teams you think are probably more safely in the playoffs?
Okay. Safely, I think the Kings make it easy. I think the Sens make it pretty easily, just because that's, I don't know, my opinion with the East. The Hurricanes have a solid roster. They'll definitely make it. The Canucks will make it, and I think the Mammoth are going to surprise people and get in there.
Mm-hmm.
Their roster's so good, in my opinion, anyway. Now they dealt Ingram, so I don't know. That could change, I guess, in my mind, but I do think they make it. As far as the ones on the cusp here with the question mark,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are high on the Blues. I think they have a decent roster. I think it's possible they could make it. I don't think they do. I'll lump in these Eastern teams like Detroit, the Habs, the Devils, the Caps. I think last year the Caps had a great season. I think it was, I don't want to call it a fluke, but I do think it was a little higher than what they should have achieved. I don't think that happens again, especially as, every year is another year on OV.
Sure.
And then you got, like I'm saying, these other Eastern teams. It's going to be really tight, right? I mean, we already know that. I just think these are the teams that they haven't convinced me they will make the playoffs in a conference that is just stacked, right? Like
Sure.
the Devils, the Habs, and the Wings and the Sens, they can't all make it. That's just not happening.
Yeah.
If there is a team that's going to sneak into the playoffs that I don't think will make it, it's Sidney Crosby. Let me tell you, Sidney Crosby will his way into the playoffs if he remains a Penguin, and I just think it's possible. And then I think the Preds can sneak in. I do. Like their roster is way too good to not be able to get in my opinion. And they got a great goaltender. They got one of the best defensemen in the game, and they have great forwards. I mean, their depth is a little weak, but I don't think they're a lock for the playoffs. But I do think they will sneak in.
And you know why I think the Nashville Predators are a dangerous team this year, Greg?
What?
It's because they're predicted to finish towards the bottom. And one
Yeah.
thing I've learned about following the Nashville Predators all these years is whenever you think this is going to be a disaster of a season, that's the year they somehow get into like the first round of the playoffs and threaten a cup contender team.
Exactly.
It's going to happen. Okay. I'm with you on a lot of that logic. There's a couple of points that I want to take. So
Okay.
I'm going to throw up mine.
I'm excited to see yours.
All right. So this is my playoff line. I disagree with the Capitals. I think they found a way under Spencer Carberry to kind of complement Ovi while also moving on and maybe getting some other pieces.
Okay.
There. I'm starting from the top here. So my safe teams are playoffs. I had the Capitals. I have the Minnesota Wild. And let me tell you, Greg, I was very close to putting Minnesota into my dark horses here. I was so close.
You mean where they belong?
Yeah, I was so close. I was so close. I think my only thing is they haven't gotten past like the first round. Like they can't get over that initial hump. But I don't know. I look at that team and I see a lot of talent. I have Vancouver also safely in the playoffs, which I believe you have them a little bit higher.
I had them right there with you.
Did you? Oh, did I miss it? Oh, you did. Okay. I, for some reason, thought that was another logo. I have the Sens here also. I agree with you. I think they're safely in as well. And I have the Winnipeg Jets as safely in. I looks like you possibly have them a little bit higher too.
I do. I have them up for sure.
Yeah. I think if there's no Connor Hellebuck, that team becomes not nearly as good as the record indicates. So I think they're safely in the playoffs because I do think there's enough talent there. But until we see like the Stanley Cup lockdown Connor Hellebuck, which we haven't seen really since I want to say like the 2018 year where they made that run to the Western Conference Finals. I don't think so. I have the Kings a little bit lower, so I'm getting into my playoffs tier now, which is the teams that I don't think are safely in, but maybe battling for the last couple spots. I have the LA Kings because I don't think they did anything in this offseason to get past the Edmonton Oilers.
True.
Which also is kind of like I didn't really see them do anything to get better in the conference in general.
Yeah.
I have the New York Rangers here, which wow, you had the Rangers a lot higher than I did too.
Oh yeah.
I think there's a little bit of I know last season was kind of an outlier, but I do think there's maybe some reshuffling there. So I'm not willing to call them a contender, but I think they can make the playoffs. I'm with you on the Mammoth. I could see them making the playoffs, maybe not gung-ho. I'm with you on the St. Louis Blues. There's a lot of people kind of predicting them to maybe be a
Yeah.
hype team this year, and I don't get it, especially because the best prospect in their system, Alexander Bolduc, they just traded away to the Montreal Canadiens.
Yep. They did.
I'm with you on the Red Wings. I'm with you on the Ducks. No, you had the Ducks way lower. I'm with you on the Red Wings and Blue Jackets. I think those are, kind of you could go either way. And then I have the Flyers here just because I love Matt Michkov, and I do think there's some young talent there and some other pieces like Travis Konechny that if you can figure out how to use them in a cohesive way, you might get something going there. So these are all my teams. Obviously, not all of them are going to make the postseason, but I think these are the teams that, let's say around the beginning of March, I think are still going to be in the hunt.
Okay.
Okay. Anything on mine that stands out to you right now?
I think my biggest standout so far between these lists, especially in the categories we just talked about, the Devils and the Rangers, we kind of have them in the same place, but swapped. So I'm curious about that logic, but we'll get there when we get to the top.
We will get there when we get to the top. And the top is up next. So we're going to do our contenders next. So we're going to do dark horses, and we're going to do the bona fide best team in the league, Stanley Cup favorites, when we come back. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season, just like hockey season, is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. All you have to do is pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, I've tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games with some live in-game bets. It's one of my favorite things to do on the app. It makes football watching even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan, love diving into stats, or just want to check out to see how the players on your fantasy team are doing, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much more fun. So, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Again, FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. We are back on Locked on Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Stephen. And Greg, we have reached the tippy top of our tiers list. Contenders and dark horses.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do the whole Miss America thing where we do everything one at a time. We're just throwing them all out there. All right. We're going to throw my final tier list up on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening in, we'll describe it for you. All right. So I will start with dark horses. So this is like the second from the top tier. I have the Florida Panthers, who to be fair, the only reason I don't have them on the top tier right now is because of the injuries. It's because of Barkov and Tkachuk. That's the only reason I don't have them at the very top. Now, they're going to come back, and they're immediately going to be a threat to win. I believe that no matter where they place, I just think with the injuries, they might have a tougher road to get there, maybe stretched a little bit thin.
Yep.
I have the Carolina Hurricanes here as a dark horse. And I went through this yesterday. And I actually saw a lot of people picking the Carolina Hurricanes to win the Cup this year. I'm kind of in the same vein as you, though, Greg, where it's like I want to see them prove it.
Yep.
I want to see them actually go in, compete with the Florida Panthers or Tampa Bay Lightning and win one of those late playoff series and not just run through those Metro Division.
Yep.
Toronto is here just because I think maybe people are sleeping on them a little bit with the Mitch Marner loss. I mean, they still have, Austin Matthews. They still have William Nylander, Morgan Riley, John Tavares, some good, I think a little bit more depth there. And I think with Marner gone, they're also in a bigger position to maybe take a bigger swing in the middle of the season with the trade to add another good couple of pieces. And then we get to the New Jersey Devils here. And I know this was a hot button one for you because I know you had them ranked a lot lower. I just think there's a lot of talent there, and I think they're all starting to kind of go in the right direction here a little bit. You have both Hughes, both sets of Hughes, and Jack was missed a lot of time with injury last year. You had Nico Hischier quietly, I think, have one of the best two-way years of his career last year. Luke Hughes is starting to look like a bona fide building block on that blue line, and he's been getting a lot better. I feel like there's just so much there that they've slowly, quietly been gelling a little bit more every year. I wouldn't be surprised if you see this team really pop off this year.
Wow.
I think really enter this contendership tier we're talking about. So
okay.
that's my dark horses. Let's stop and let's I will say, do you have any comments on any of the dark horses there?
Yeah. Why don't you swap to mine, because we have the same top line. So
okay. So let's go to Greg's dark horses and
here we go.
Explain who you have here.
Okay, I like your Panthers logic. I think the only reason they're not a contender is because obviously they have arguably two of the biggest possible injuries that roster could even face.
Yeah.
So that's not something you want to see. And the fact that they're still a dark horse just shows you how good that team is. So there's no disrespect there. The Leafs, you're right. People are going to sleep on them. People are going to say, oh, Marner's gone, they're worse, whatever. Look, this could be a great thing for the Leafs. This could be what they needed, if anything. So I don't know. I don't want to sleep on them at all. I think they could be insanely good. I don't have them at Cup contender because if you look at goaltending on paper, their goaltending is just substantially worse than any Cup contending team.
But they somehow keep finding ways to get good goaltending out of that bad goaltending. I will say that.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but ultimately it will matter in the end.
Sure.
The Rangers. I mean, look, you said it. Last year was a bit of a fluke, bad year for them. But a team with Panarin and JT Miller and even Zibanejad, and they got Adam Fox over there. Shesterkin's one of the best goalies in the world. I think, honestly, I almost put them at Cup contender. And the only reason I didn't is because of last season. So you want to make sure they're actually a stable squad before you throw them up there. But they're a teeter-totter for me between Cup contender and dark horse. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
And then everyone sleeps on the Wild always because they just do. But Kaprizov, Boldy, those guys are going to show you they're a great team. And then the Jets, of course, we're going to hear the Hellebuck is washed chance. But the Jets are still a stacked team. They lost Ehlers, but I don't think that's enough for them to become bad all of a sudden. They got Scheifele and all those guys, and Josh Morrissey. Let's not pretend that he's not an insane defenseman. No. So yeah, I think these are definitely dark horse teams. And then Devils. I'll go back to that real quick.
Okay.
I don't have the Devils up because look, Jack Hughes, he feels like he's made of glass. I'm not going to lie to you. And
He was like, what, 5'9", 78
right,
pounds.
well, of course, but he's also just always injured. And look, if he gets injured, that team is instantly bad. I mean, it's just true. Bratt is very good. Heischer is very good. They have a couple good young guys. Markstrom's a pretty good goalie. I'm not saying he's bad, but I wouldn't say he's, prime Vasi.
Yeah.
But if Jack Hughes takes even one more injury, you start looking at him like, wow, can this guy ever play a full season? And without him, can they even do anything? I would just say there's no way. And maybe he stays healthy and I'm wrong, but I don't think so. I think the Devils will, if they make it, it'll be barely.
But I'm also saying if he does stay healthy, then that's a really good team.
I think they're a pretty mid team.
Yeah. Let's just throw yours back up there because we have the same Cup contenders tier, which is Colorado, Dallas, us, the Tampa Bay Lightning, go us, Edmonton, and Vegas.
Yep.
Which one of these do you want to tackle? Let's start with Colorado.
Okay.
Any thoughts on Colorado maybe not being a favorite to win right now? Like any reason to believe that they won't?
For me, it's goaltending, and a lot of people are going to say I'm wrong, and I get it. Look, I put them at Cup contender, so I can't think they're that bad, right? But I think of the 5, they're the worst.
Yeah. I think I might have set you up there because the answer I was looking for was no. Yeah, I don't see a lot of weaknesses on that team. And I'll say the same thing for Dallas. I feel like they're just stacked across the board. They have great goaltending in Ottinger.
Yep.
They're loaded in, they're loaded with talent on the blue line, both with guys like Miro Heiskanen and Thomas Harley. I think the Mikko Rantanen edition is going to, a full season of that, a full season of him with, I think, more chemistry under his belt is going to do wonders there. I think Dallas is absolutely loaded.
Agreed.
As well.
I will interject though and say that I think one of Dallas's biggest mistakes was getting rid of Stankoven, but continue.
Sure. Yeah. But that's
the price you pay for Rantanen.
Yeah. But you got Rantanen.
Yeah.
I do think that. And you still have a lot of young talent on that team. Like, you still have Wyatt Johnson. So.
He was like their Mikey Asimont to me.
I mean, if we're knocking a team out of contendership because of somebody like Mikey Asimont, what are we doing here?
No,
Oilers, self-explanatory. I think Vegas is also still self-explanatory. Here's a interesting question. Do you think how far would Tampa be up or down the ladder if Florida entered the season 100% healthy?
I still think they'd be Cup contender if that's what you're asking me. It's hard to repeat win in any pro sport. It's even harder to get there 3 times. I think it's extremely unlikely that the Panthers get to the finals this season because of injury. And I know your question said without injury, but just to do that again, they got to be tired. It wears on you. It's a lot of hockey. It's a lot of their game is physical. So,
I kind of meant more from the Tampa side. Because right now, I think a lot of people have sort of fallen off picking Florida as like a bona fide favorite in the division. The Lightning are now sort of a lot of people are picking them to be like the top tier in the division.
Yeah.
I saw that, Dom Luszczyszyn at The Athletic put out his projected points, and Tampa he had as the highest percentage odds to win the Cup. But it also doesn't feel like a lot of people were picking the Lightning before the Florida injury. So I'm kind of more curious is is the Lightning being right there at the very tip top of cup contenders because they now have an easier route, or is it just the fact that they're the Tampa Bay Lightning and still a really good team?
I think it's because they're the Tampa Bay Lightning. Nikita Kucherov is next level. And then you just toss Gensel, Point, Hagel, Sorelli, Vasilevsky. I mean, what do I have to recite the roster? I mean, they're just stacked.
No Mikey Eyssimont, though.
No Eyssimont. No, unfortunately, I love that kid. And then he got sent to the Kraken, who are on the bottom of my list. I feel so bad for him. Anyway, I want to make one point though, and it's that of these 5 cup contenders, I think Vegas has this. Okay. And the only reason I say that is because they were already dangerous. And now you add Marner. And I'm scared of the Marner-Eichel combo. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's going to be just... I think Marner's going to settle in, and he's going to be like, I'm not in this, crazy Toronto market. People here are going to take me in. I'm in Vegas. I'm on a cup contending team still. I don't pay taxes. Look, his life is great now. Yeah. And he's going to be comfortable. And Eichel's over there. And Eichel is amazing. People slept on Eichel and they said, oh, he's going to go to Vegas. It's not going to matter. And then he wins. He's fine. Look.
So is Vegas your official cup pick?
No.
You just said Vegas had this. So who's your official cup pick?
Nothing beats the will of Connor McDavid this season.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I think if McDavid didn't do his team-friendly deal and sort that all out already, I would say, yeah, Vegas has this. But now that I see him say, okay, let's get this done in the next 2 years, I feel like they might actually do something this season. I think they might actually make some moves that help their team for the first time. So
you went so hard on why Vegas has this, and
I think they
it's like the Pat McAfee clip where he riles up the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, I love that clip.
Yeah, and then picks Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I'm gonna go Dallas Stars.
Yes.
As the Stanley Cup, and I'm gonna throw a hot take in here. I think it's gonna be Dallas and us. I think it's gonna be Dallas and Tampa Bay in the Stanley Cup Finals, and maybe I'm gonna get flamed by our own fan base here, but I think this might be Dallas's year. I think the younger talent that's been so good over the year are just now hitting their prime years. I think you're going to see a big bounce back year from Robertson because I know he had some health issues a bit last year. I think Mikko Rantanen, like I said, is going to unlock a lot out of them. I think Jake Ottinger, even with all his, I think, playoff question marks last year, is still one of the best goalies in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that this might be Dallas's year. They might have the recipe this year. So Dallas is my pick.
So you have Stars versus Lightning.
I have Stars versus Lightning. Yeah, and Stars winning. Sorry, all of us.
You know what? Last season, I didn't want to say this, and I didn't because I didn't believe it. But this season, I think it's going to be Oilers Cats.
Again? 3rd year in a row?
I do.
Okay.
And I think McDavid wins this time.
Let's hope.
Come back to the video in a year.
I don't know if we want to see a 3-peat. Oh, I couldn't stand it, especially after this week.
Look, I don't want that to happen because I'm so tired of watching it. And they got to fix this format. But
yeah, they do.
But I think McDavid does it this year. Maybe it's not against the Cats, but I think it is. And I think he gets it done. So
yeah. Well, hey, one more time. This is my tier list. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and comment what you think. If you're listening, we're going to put this on our social media as well. LO_Lightning on Twitter, Locked on Lightning everywhere else. Chime in. Let me know where you think, teams are ranked too high, too low, maybe a cup pick. For those of you on YouTube, here's Greg's pick. So let us know what you think. We want to see where you think all these teams rank, and we just kind of want to hear your take as well. That is going to do it for us on today's Locked On Lightning. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. New episode coming tomorrow. We'll see you then.